Yeah. What's up there, Country Club? How are y'all today? Oh, I got to scoot over and get in the middle of the screen. Got to look kind of offset there. Let me turn the camera. There we go. We're here with Joe from Project Red. That's Project R3d.com. He's going to tell us a little bit about his company and himself, and then we're going to discuss the ins and outs of small business and his products, and we're going to let you ask questions and that type of thing. Let me say hello to the Country Club. Thank you very much. Roy Holly, I have to apologize. I spelled your name wrong on Twitter. Sorry. I did the same thing you did to Brian. I see your thing there. So, sweet. Hey, everybody. I do see you coming in here, but you know on interviews I don't really interact with chat a lot until we get to questions. So we're going to let Joe tell us a little bit about himself, his company, and then we'll get into the question and answer section, and you'll be able to put questions. If anybody's here that can get in Discord and you see questions, paste them into Discord for me. I'll keep it up over here. That'll be easier for me than trying to keep up with them through the chat. So, you know, any of you that think you can, do that for me. All right, here we go. Joe, it's all you, buddy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Pogorski. I started Project Red a few years back. Mainly, we've been working on printers for about 4 years now, to where we knew where we were going to probably bring to market. And then about 2 years ago, we actually formed the company and started selling. And in the beginning, we were going to pursue the consumer market, but then we found a way to heavily test our products in a more closed environment. So in the beginning, we sold mostly to universities and small businesses, which we're able to, we kept it mostly in the Chicagoland area where we're based, so that over time we could really be hands-on and get a dramatic amount of feedback so that we can constantly improve our products. And then we started selling to the public the end of last year. And then we took everything we learned from the university and the industrial side and brought it into the new units that we released at MRF this year, which is our D1700, which is the little brother to our D2800 or the 2880, sorry. And the 2880 is currently on revision 1.2, and the D17 is brand new this year. So the D in the name is actually stands for the Daedalus line. So pretty much everything in our Daedalus line is going to be backed by our 5-year commitment, which is something that I felt when we first started designing these printers, we had to have some kind of commitment to keep our printers running longer than the 1-year cycle that it seems like everybody in the market has right now. One thing that really drove me to start my own business doing this was having a 3D printer that I spent over $2,000 on to then get outdated within 9 months of buying it by a printer that the biggest selling point of it was auto bed leveling. And to get auto bed leveling, I had to buy another over $2,000 printer. So one of our biggest things was our 5-year commitment. So our 5-year commitment consists of the frame of the D1700 and the D2880. Whenever you buy it, from now till 2023, everything new that comes out on the market, we are fitting into that frame. So big reason why is if shipping a frame is one of the most expensive parts of actually delivering these printers. All the components inside are easy, small boxes, easy to add in. The way we made it easy to add in is there's nothing on our machines that take more than 4 screws to replace. And with the Duet Wi-Fi boards that we're using, modification is super simple. So changing from we've been testing some dual nozzles, 2 in, 2 out, set up for an upgrade, and we've gotten that transition from the single Titan, single V6 to our dual setup down to 4 minutes. And you're able to maintain your entire build volume with it. So everything inside is easy to change, easy to modify, but we also kept things to where not every printer on the market is going to fit every need you have. So we pretty much build a generalized machine to where we can make it easy for you to make it fit into your workflow and to fit your needs. If you want a taller machine, it's 4 rails, easy to do. We'll help you do it. We want to see people get these machines to where they specifically need them to go. Out of the box, it's going to print. Out of the box, it's calibrated, it's set up, it's ready to go. They're fully assembled. But we want it to work with you and not make you have to work around the limitations of the machine itself. So over time, as new boards, new hot ends, new components come out, we are releasing them as upgrade kits for any previous buyer and anybody moving forward. We implement that into our machines, and we do those implementations on 6 months rotations. So the first rotation is MRF. We feel that's the best time to release one of like a big batch of upgrades. And then the next is normally around September. We used to do it around the Milwaukee Maker Faire. But we're kind of hoping that Earth becomes that new standard for us, so that we can, because that's where our community is in those, at those 2 places. So hopefully in September, we're going to be releasing an update either way. Next year, MRF, we're going to be doing some drastic updates. So our units, they're made with all genuine components. So straight from E3D, straight from Think 3D, Print 3D, straight from David Crocker, Build Tack. Our heated beds are a etched foil. They're not a wire wound silicone heater. They're actually made in Canada by a oil drum heater company. So they were the best heaters we could get our hands on. We don't just use regular V6s. We upgrade to all of the premium heater cartridges from E3D. So all of our heaters or all of our hot ends are easily replaceable. It's 4 screws on the Titan extruder. Pull right out. Pull out your hot end. Put in the next hot end. If you want to go to a volcano, or you want to go to the Mosquito, or you want to go to anything that fits that groove mount, you can slap it in, and within 4 screws, put it right back in. And in software, it's a copy and paste off the Duet, and you're ready to rock and roll if something's changing. So we make that super simple. We use the Build-Tack flex plate that comes standard on all of our machines. Also, all of our machines come standard with hardened steel nozzles. We have the D1700 has the 5-inch touchscreen, and the 2880 has a 7-inch touchscreen. We do have enclosure upgrades available for them that gives you a door and a top. We buy all of our aluminum extrusion, rails, and bearings straight from Mashimi in Chicago, which is great. That's one way we're able to keep our lead times down, also providing the best quality components we could possibly get. So the big thing is out of the box, it makes it super simple. You're normally up and running within 20 minutes. You pull it out of the box, you get it connected to your Wi-Fi, and if you're using Simplify 3D or Cura, we have it easy for you to get started with that, and then you're ready to print within 30 minutes max. There's no assembly. from the box, the only thing you have to do is move the display from one side to the other, just because we keep it compact in the box and we don't want the display hanging off the side until you're ready to start using it. Other than that, you're ready to print. So
cool. Is that it? That's your whole thing? You do that at Murph and Earth, and that's the way you talk, huh?
Yeah.
Now, yeah, did y'all make it to Earth this year, Joe?
No, we didn't go to Earth this year, mainly because getting the whole team out on such a short time schedule, and we planned our year's events in December, and we didn't really get much info on Earth until February, March,
right?
And it was kind of a little late for us. But next year we're going to pretty much be replacing Milwaukee Maker Faire with Earth.
Right.
So,
right. Well, Trolling for Dollars is jumping up some questions early so that I can go ahead and get these and get these out of the way. We got 3 questions here. Voltage for the board / bed. Does it have USB RJ45 connections possible? Which I know it does because it's a duet, correct? You're using the Wi-Fi or the Ethernet?
So right now we're using the Wi-Fi only, but we're looking to offer the Ethernet as an add-on. The duet Ethernet boards do cost roughly $10 more, and there is some additional hardware we have to do to run the wire to where you can plug it in. But if we see enough need for that, by all means, I'll add an RJ45 connector to it. I've already been looking into it. It's a simple add-on.
Right.
Voltage-wise, we're using a Meanwell 500 watt, 24 volt power supply.
Sweet.
So our machines run pretty silent. When I delivered our one of the printers last weekend on Sunday, the big thing was they said, "Wow, it's silent. You can barely hear it running." You can hear it running, but you hear the fans. You don't really hear anything else.
Right.
So that's one big advantage of the 24 volt, and there's a lot of advantages of running 24 on the duets, and we wanted to take full advantage of all of those little advantages.
Well, I know from my experiences, just upping my power supply from the 12 volts to like 14.7 ish, my power off resume works a lot better than it did. Now, y'all have auto bed leveling. What about like a filament sensor?
So
do you have that?
I actually have one of the duet, the original duet, their filament sensor, which in the beginning it was a magnet system, and it was actually a filament monitor, and I had great results with it. And then Prusa came out with theirs, and then they all wanted to jump on this optical system. Yeah, they tried it, and they're having the same results that Prusa had, right? Which is difficulties. Yeah. So I think now they're moving back to the magnet style, and I was ready to implement it. We were ready to show it at Murph. It was set, and then they decided to go optical. A lot of I have gotten feedback though. Why don't we just have a mechanical in stop to do it? Big thing is with the large printer, you also want to. I want there to be a monitoring system to make sure that if it's clogged or anything like that, especially with us running a V6, the V6 is great, but you can get clogs if you run too high of retraction. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, I want to have that option, and that's kind of what we've been waiting on, and we'll quickly implement it once we can get our hands on a steady stream of them. Yeah. But I just haven't found something that's more than just an in-stop switch that is reliable. At this point.
No, I can understand that.
I don't want to do it halfway.
Right. Yeah, no, I know. I actually implemented optical on mine, and I've noticed as the spool runs down, it pulls your filament into a different path, and it can pull it out of the optical sensor, and it'll start reporting, hey, So I actually wrote a macro on mine so I can turn off the filament sensor when I'm having that issue.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are having with the optical is certain materials weren't working very well whatsoever with it. Like on the Prusas, they were having some issues with certain materials, and that's exactly what Duet ran into. And but like I said, we just don't want to go halfway with it because we are a small company and support tickets can drown us. So one simple thing that's just not good could drown us in support tickets.
Oh yeah.
So that's why we choose to go when we go at something, we go all the way and with the highest quality we can get.
Now you use the Duet Wi-Fi, and me being a newbie at Duet Wi-Fi, I have been playing with mine for the last 2 months, getting it, or not even that long, since Earth, right before Earth, I finished setting mine up, and I finally got it pretty much dialed in. Everything's good, because it's a new beast for me. Coming from Marlin to that is different. The auto bed leveling is one of them, because you do a G29 on the front of your G code for Marlin, at your startup to do your bed leveling there. With this, it actually writes a file with a map.
Yeah.
Or you can run the other. So
the best thing to do is to, if you're doing a full map like G29, if in your start G code, if you run G29S0, it'll run it every single time. If you run G29S1, it'll use the saved map.
Right.
So what we do is we normally run G29S1 and we have a saved map. And then from there we run G32 so that every single time it does a 4-point.
I got you. So in your startup you have the G29 and then the G32 after the G29.
Yep.
Okay. That's good because I don't have the G32 in there. So I need to run that as well. I need to just put that in my startup. I have been doing the S1. Didn't know about the G32. Glad you told me that.
So you don't have to do that forever, because we used to do 54 points on our bed leveling.
Good God.
It was for industry and for universities where some students, I found some students that could bend a 12 millimeter hardened steel rod.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that because our old system used to be a cantilever bed. We no longer do cantilever because they taught us that if you give somebody something that you think is really tough, they'll show you it's not. So we learned that lesson pretty quick. But yeah.
So that's cool, man. I mean, and the thing with me is the Duet's a learning process, and so is the whole Hypercube Evo thing. I'm learning as we go. Now on your machine, it's all rails, right?
Yes.
Which is friggin' awesome.
No, it's rods. Sorry,
it's rods. Okay. Rods. Now, why rods versus rails? Is that a cost thing?
First thing was getting a consistent supplier in the U.S. that I could get them quickly. That's one of our big things. It's like I can't. One of the big reasons why we don't buy a lot of knockoff stuff from China is, for one, I don't want to support that. 2, I don't have the time to support that on the user side when things go wrong, because that tends to happen more when you buy a cheaper component. So we'll spend more on the component itself. And another thing is I don't have the storage space, and it kind of goes against our business strategy to sit on a large pile of components so we can get them at a price that's decent. But I not saying anything's coming up too quickly here, but Murph next year should be our all rail system. The reason we found a good supplier, they've been working very well. We're testing them, but I know over the next year, our big transition is going to be getting prepared for the R3d multi-material, multi-head system. So I talked to Sanjay at Murph, and I've talked to Sanjay about specifically implementing that system into our printer. He said it looked like a good candidate.
Right.
So what I want to do is I want to have the system ready to where when I can get the hardware from E3D, we're ready to roll. It's quick implementation.
Right.
So we are looking into moving into more the rail system from the rods, but we've had really great results with the rods because we're matching Mushimi with Mushimi. And if you want good bearings, Mushimi's who you go with.
Right.
They're awesome. And the nice thing is, if I ordered parts today, tomorrow they'll ship to me and I'll have them the next day, or they'll let me pick them up same day.
Right.
So
well, that's good for where you live at. But being in Florida, that I wouldn't have that. You know.
No. Well, no. When we first started sourcing components, we have 3 suppliers for every component. So like the Duet Wi-Fi, I have fallbacks. So if I can't get them from Europe, I can get them from 2 different places in the US that I know if I give them a phone call, I've got them. The only thing I've had issues with that is the build tack, is because when everybody runs out of the build tack flex plates, it's like across the board, nobody has them.
Right.
So, but we've had really good results with the rods. We haven't had like a large amount of noise coming off of them. They are a little bit louder than a rail system, but the big thing is cost. We've had a lot of people ask us why our machines cost as much as they do. It's because if you build up what we have currently in those machines, you wouldn't be able to build it much cheaper than what we already spend on them. And then rails going into that is just, it's going to raise the price of our units significantly moving forward.
And I can see being a small business, that's a problem for you, because you're already at that that price point is starting to get into the, well, to me, it's in the more prosumer market than the hobbyist market already.
Yeah.
So for me, the price of your printers already, to me personally, is obstructive.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I've looked at your printers, dude. I would love to have one, beta testing. But to me, it is an awesome, because you didn't just go with aluminum extrusions either. They're smooth on the outside, which is, that's a signature for you. And I think that makes your machine stand out, because it doesn't look like you bought an off the shelf part, even though it probably is an extrusion that I could buy.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't think to look for that. You know what I mean? And then you drill and tap every joint, correct?
Yes.
You don't just depend on little L connectors and stuff like that. It's all drilled and tapped together. So it's put together like a tank.
Yes. Well, we want the frame to last 5 years plus a lot more. So
right.
I can't sell you a frame that I'm saying we're giving a 5-year commitment on, and then it start falling apart at year 2.
Yeah, right,
so
right. No,
when somebody buys this unit, it's not like when you buy a 3D printer, it's an investment. It's not I'm going to buy another one in 6 months. You're going to probably buy one in 6 months. Let's be honest. We all have this issue where we just have too many printers, but you shouldn't have to replace that printer in 6 months. This printer is like, you should be growing your clan of printers, not having to replace the defunct ones that are all messing up.
I get that completely. I mean, I've got 6, and all of them right now, knock on this wood table right here, are working, except for that monster in the corner I have over here, which is the bane of my existence. But I'm hoping that, come paycheck time, or a couple paychecks from now, because I just started back to work, that that upgrades to a Duet Wi-Fi as well, and that fixes a lot of these problems.
Have you looked at their the Duets Delta, like the effector?
No, I have not.
Effector? Oh, you need to. That would be a perfect setup. The Duet Wi-Fi with the Duet Smart Effector.
Well, I will tell you, because the frame on that thing is second to none. The TiVo little monster frame is fantastic. But let's get off of the TiVo. Come on.
Okay. Yeah.
Talk printers and all that stuff. We can sit here and talk about all kind of printers.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about your printers.
Yes.
Now, Project Red.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's Project R3d, but you call it Project Red, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why that? Why is it Project Red?
So, when I first started it, it was more of a project on my side, and then when we decided, we're launching the company, we need a name for it. I like to hold on to the project side. The red was research, engineering, and design. But I wanted to, well, of course, you're a 3D printing company, so you have to have a 3 somewhere in there. So we changed the E. And my favorite color is red. So it didn't hurt.
Project Purple really wouldn't do it. So I couldn't really go with that.
No.
Yeah.
And then I've talked to a lot of people who work a lot with colors.
Right.
And they told me in the beginning that I needed to dump the red sides because it looked too aggressive. I should go with blue because it's really inviting. And I told them no. If I lose a sale over a red side, and then I have not had a single person purchase the printer who said they didn't like the red. Who said you need to keep it.
My question is, why do you put a Prius color on a Ferrari?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Come on. I want it to look like a hot rod while it's sitting on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Exactly.
But no, I just didn't understand the Project Red, because it's, research, engineering, design makes sense. That really does. That's cool to me. I didn't understand it. I was like, okay, it's got to have a story.
Yeah. Well, we don't plan on only staying 3D printers either. Currently, we're working on a horizontal mill, being ran by the Duet Wi-Fi.
Right.
And we're also looking at a vertical mill it's a small desktop vertical mill.
Yeah.
That will be ran off the Duet Wi-Fi, and a laser cutter that will also be ran off the Duet Wi-Fi. The big thing is over the next 5 years, I also want to have an ecosystem to where if a small business owner said, okay, well, I'm going to start manufacturing these specific things, but I need a mill and I need a laser cutter and I need a 3D printer. They go to learning each individual user interface is a pain.
Yeah.
I learned this with working with the universities in Chicago and stuff. Like they have a horizontal mill and they have 3 different 3D printers and it's just having to learn the setup for every single one, especially for teachers. Teachers don't have the time for that. So if we can implement a similar user interface to every machine, to where the learning curve is dramatically dropped, that's one of the big things we're working on. And we have a few mills running with the Duet already that we're putting through its paces. Right.
So right now you have 2 printers that you build and sell. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now what I saw one was like 305, 500. That's the 2800. Is that right?
The 2880.
2880. Sorry, I'm CRS. So, and the other one is what size? What's the build size on the other?
305, 305, 305.
Okay, so it's just
roughly 1,700 cubic inches.
Okay, cool. Basically a hypercube, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but now you went away from some of the hypercube design. I noticed you only have like the 1 smooth rod on each side. Mm-hmm. Instead of 2. Well, now I did the Evo, which has 2. I don't know about the normal hypercube. If it's a 1 or 2.
The normal hypercube, the original was 2 in the back, but we are using the 1 on each side. We've been able to get away with that because first off, they're double length machine bearings. Secondly, they're 12 millimeter rods.
Okay.
And third, the rods aren't directly across from each other. If you look at the pictures, the rods and the lead screws are offset from each other.
Okay.
So that you have even torque on either side going up and down.
Yeah.
And you keep the rocking from happening.
I got you. Well, and I did kind of wonder, because mine is double 12 millimeter smooth rods on each side.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's a lot of stoutness on this thing.
Yeah.
It really is. But I can understand, though, if you have them offset, though, that kind of alleviates that need. And you could probably do the same thing in this one. Take one rod off of one side and one rod off of the other, catty corner from each other, and do the same thing for mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so
you need to move them in a little bit, but yeah, you can probably do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Danska 6 is keeping track of most of the questions about your stuff. The $1,200 price point on the 1700 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then is that your normal price point, or is that on sale, or
so we're currently overcoming some issues with our resume after power loss. So we wanted a $1,250 price point when we released that printer, but we were having issues. We were having inconsistencies that I wasn't going to push it out saying, hey, it works 90% of the time.
Right.
That's not how we do things. So because I couldn't say it works 99.999% of the time, I dropped the price to, like, all of our units that go out the door have all the hardware to do the power loss recovery. Okay. But we weren't having consistency out of it. So we're working on that on our end. And when that happens and we have that 99.99% consistency, that's when the price will go back up to the $1,250. Yeah. Well, that, and PT3D said that's cool, a cool practice to do, because you're not giving everything that you could be, so you knock the price down just a little bit. Yeah. Filament Frenzy asks, is the $1,200 a full package, or is there more add-ins that you can do, for that? Does that come with the enclosure and everything, or? So the enclosure is an add-on. It's a $200 add-on, and it gives you a 6-inch top and a clear door. And because what we found back about 2 years ago when we started selling them, everything was fully enclosed. Well, we found a lot of issues with that, because mostly at the university side, a lot of people decided, well, PLA is cheap and it's easy to print. Right. So I'm going to print PLA in a fully enclosed chamber. And over time, they got clogs with having a V6 hot end. So I realized, well, there's a lot of people who don't need the enclosure. Right. So we made it an add-on. And our enclosure, if you bought the enclosure, it comes as a top, has 4 locking screws on the top. You just sit it down. You do pretty much a quarter turn on all 4 screws. It's locked in on the top, and the door is just screwing 2 hinges on, and you're ready to roll. Cool. It's a pretty simple add-on. Yeah, the Lightspeed asks, is it? Well, you just explained some of it, but does it come with sides and a back on it already? Yeah, sides, back, and a bottom come standard. Okay. It's just the top and the door that are the add-on. Okay. Okay. And now, is it all plexiglass? Yeah, it's all 3 millimeter acrylic from a company called Acrylite on the East Coast. They make some awesome acrylic and awesome customer service. If you ever need acrylic, they're the people to go to. Right. Now, he compared it to the Hypercube earlier, but you designed all your own parts, and the belt movement and all that stuff is in-house stuff? Absolutely. Or is none of it's off the shelf? None of it's taking from other people's design? No. I mean, you built on the other stuff, but yeah, I understand that you designed all of this stuff in-house. So one of the big things we wanted to do is we wanted to have a direct drive system. But if you look at a lot of the direct drive systems on the market right now, it's normally two vertical rod, like the rods are set vertical to each other or they're set horizontal to each other. And then they ride the gantry off of it. Well, if you do vertical to each other, you have that stepper motor hanging off one side.
Right.
So you've got an uneven weight distribution. If you do horizontal, then you're just wasting a lot of your Y motion.
Right.
Because the carriage is so big. What we did was ours are set at an angle to each other so that the stepper motor actually sits between, like it sits in a carriage and it's cradled between the rods so that we can do a direct drive system and still maintain high speeds and not have to worry about the weight of a direct drive system.
Okay. Now, just say, because I just got asked, was this for sale yet? And of course it is. But just say somebody gets on and orders today. Okay. What's your lead time? I mean, you're building these on order, correct?
Yeah, 2-week lead time. And what that does is it gives us, because we don't hold stock of all the components, because if we did, I would have to charge a lot more for these because I'd have to buy in large bulks and stuff like that. So we don't hold large stock, but we have the means of getting everything within a few days.
Right.
So once everything comes in, we build them. Normally, we're building more than one at a time, but once it gets done, every unit that goes out our door has 50 hours of printing on it before it leaves our door.
Okay. Okay.
So another thing we're planning on working on, I reached out to a bunch of people about it and what they thought about it, but we're looking to implement a way to, most printers, when you get it, if it's assembled, you get a test print on the bed.
Right.
We'd like to start doing that, but we'd like to start helping and supporting the community. So finding people who make models, and then when you order a unit, you get to select whose model and which model you want to print. We'll be reaching out to several different modelers,
right,
and seeing if they'd work with us, and if they agree, allowing people to do to make those selections, and then we either buy the model from them or donate in that person's name, whoever buys the unit. It's another way we want to try to give back to the community.
Oh, that's cool, man. And there's several, and I know they can't see me, but there's several country models out there on Thingiverse already.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think there's one of my head out.
Oh, that'd be a cool print to just get a printer and you open it up and there's a 12-inch Walter head
staring at you. Yeah, that would sell a lot of printers, buddy. Let me tell you. And Robert Reynolds said, "Thank you, love the made in the USA," and that's true for most of your components. I mean, you do buy from E3D V6, which is not a US company.
No.
And the Titan is also from them, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Duet Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
They are they English or
they're all in the UK?
They're all in the UK. Okay.
And then the other component that's not made, not straight from the US, is our heated beds, and they come from Canada.
Right. No, and I get that, but they're still all top of the line components, and they're all assembled here. You don't you get these and you put your printers together here. You don't ship it off to print, put together somewhere, and you don't sell a kit.
No.
Okay, and the reason for that?
The reason for that is Core XYs, they tend to need a lot of tuning.
Yeah.
Especially on the belt side, and I would rather assemble it complete myself and have it tuned by me, know it's ready to rock, and when you get it, you can pull it out of the box and you're ready to go. And we don't have, being a small company, we're dumping all of our money and all of our time into researching and developing new new upgrades and making the printers better, that we don't want to dedicate 20 people to help and set those things up.
Yeah,
we know how to do it, and there are ways. Yes, you can tweak them in the field, by all means. It's going to be a learning experience for you, but we want it out of the box to be the best user experience possible, and trying to support that on the back end of having a kit. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially for a small company.
Right. No, I get that. And we're going to transition to that here right now. I mean, they can still ask if you have questions about his printers and stuff. Go ahead and ask up. But we're going to talk about the small business side of this now. You know, because I had that discussion the other day on my channel about, can small businesses fit into this market that's really dominated by, well, one, the Chinese on one side, and then you have people like Prusa, and you have other manufacturers that are a lot bigger than you are.
Yeah.
And can you, because, you know, PrinterBot has been around for a long time in the rep rap community, and it was a sad day to see them close their doors.
It was a terrible day.
You know, you see a lot of these Kickstarters that start up and then they come out the gate just blazing, and then bleh, you know. Yeah. But PrinterBot, just, they were a staple in the community. Yes. And they didn't make it. So that's one of those things that people want to know. I mean, what's, you know, you say 5-year commitment. Okay.
Will I be here?
Be around in 5 years.
Absolutely. You know? So when I said we needed a 5-year commitment, I knew at that point we have to make it the long term. So the way we structured our business is we are a very lean manufacturing process. Manufacturing is a very difficult sector to get into, especially manufacturing technology in the cornfields of Indiana. We're about an hour outside of Chicago. Granted, I can get to Chicago pretty easily, but there's really no tech around me.
Right.
I can look out my window and there's a cornfield right there.
But I live in the swamps. I know exactly what you mean.
So the way we knew that we were getting the ecosystem we were jumping into. So when PrinterBot, MakerBot, and Formlabs really pushed out in the beginning, it was in the newspaper, it was on the news, it was in every TV show. If they could fit a 3D printer in there, they could. They were ugly as sin at the time, but they was the cool new thing. And they were coming out saying, we're going to have a 3D printer in every household. No, that doesn't make sense. We are not there yet.
Right.
So the nice thing is when I started, the hype was dead for the most part. That initial hype. And for us, the hype is still there. And that's the people I want to work with. Yeah. I don't want to work with, I'd be happy to get more people into 3D printing. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to keep our prices as low as we can, because I want to get more people into it. I want the people who are interested in it to have the means of getting a high quality machine. But at the same time, there was a lot of printers that were bought in 2010 to 2013 that never got used because they bought them and then half of them didn't realize you needed filament, and the other half didn't realize that you couldn't print human organs on it. And like, I've gotten those questions.
Right.
And that's like, for a small company, it especially like PrinterBot, it was great for Brooke to be around during that. But the problem was when it dropped off fast.
Right.
And there was a big bubble. The bubble burst and we hit our plateau. So I have the best outlook. Like when I started, it gave us the best outlook of what the industry was looking like.
Right.
If you looked at it in 2010, venture capitalists were dumping money hand over fist into the ecosystem because everybody was buying it. But you could tell back then, this is not a sustainable system.
Right.
But the people who were in it, they were getting money. They kept pushing it. Another big thing is, like, I know my market better now than I could have ever known it before. And that was mainly because the people who are buying now are users, not just hoping to get into it at some point. Another big thing is we refuse to take loans. So pretty much all of it up to now has been self-supported and then rolling everything from the business back into it. Right. Because I knew it was going to be a slow start, because I knew that bubble had burst.
Right.
So that's really helped us. I didn't go out and get $200,000 loan to build a factory. No, I converted my garage.
Right.
I've got 2 offices inside that are just full of printing stuff.
Yeah.
And then the about 1,000 square foot of just printer workshop right behind me.
Right.
And then that's really helped out. And then knowing that I wasn't going to buy 1,000 printers worth of components today. I'm not going to buy 100 printers worth of components today. That's why we're keeping our 2-week lead time. I'm buying 5 printers worth of components at a time. In all reality, 5 to 10, because if I get a real slow month and for some reason something happens and people stop buying 3D printers for a month across the industry, then I can sustain.
Right.
We've built the model to where we can sustain the business and all of our expenses off of about 3 printers a month. And that's where the business is completely on its own. Granted, there's like, I still work my day job because I want to keep this going, so that I need to be like, I'll quit my day job when I know the business, even at its worst times, can sustain itself.
Right.
And we're keeping everything to where we will most likely have lead times for the foreseeable future. It's probably going to happen because we don't want to get into the point where we have $1,000 or $100,000 worth of components sitting on the shelf and we're only selling 1 a week.
Right. Right. No, I get you.
Not
I get
sustainable.
that. Yeah.
So we do a very lean manufacturing process to sustain that. And then we're kind of letting it grow organically. We're not doing Kickstarters because of the, everybody gets started in Kickstarters and they think it's just going to take off and you're going to be able to spin up that fast. Manufacturing doesn't spin up. It's not really a thing. It chugs.
Right.
And it huffs and puffs and it's going to kick you. So one nice thing is doing it slow and letting it grow organically. I've been able to counteract all that chugging. Granted, we still have hurdles ahead of us by all means, but I've been able to take it in stride. We've been able to keep working and know that just dumping more man hours, dumping a lot of coffee, and losing a lot of sleep, we can get the job done.
Right. And
we can overcome it. But when you have 100,000 orders sitting and none of them are going out because you ran a Kickstarter, it went great, but now you have to actually put your money where your mouth is, and then you have to start jumping the hurdles, and you have to do it quickly to meet deadlines. It's not for the faint of heart, and that even large companies are having a hard time.
Yeah,
with that.
Well, I got a question about the Kickstarter thing, okay? Because you have a working product.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the hurdles are and all that stuff. So, in order to inject capital into your business, would a Kickstarter not behoove you if you can get that backing?
I try to stay away from it just because it doesn't have a good connotation right now.
I got you.
And
well, hey, I got to let me ask you a couple questions because I need to step out of my room for a minute. Mm-hmm. My uncle just walked in and he kind of peeked in here, so he needs something. So there's three questions about the printer, and I'm going to ask these, and I'm going to step out, and I'll be right back. So, will the smooth rods be able to be upgraded to the rails? Have you found issues with the 2 Z-axis smooth rods so close to the lead screws? And what are the main differences between the 1700 and the 2880? And it's off the small business thing, but I'll get back on that when I come back. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. Okay, so from smooth rods to rails, yes. So we have two 2020 rails that go across the sides, kind of like a hypercube would. And that's where the top of the Z rods are supported. And right now the design is just dropping the rails on top of those 2020s, bolting them on, and then putting the X carriage across it. So yes, as of right now, and because that is going to be an upgrade to the D series and the 27 or the 17 and the 2880, they will be coming. There will be an upgrade to the rails, and that's on its way. Second question was the rails too close to the lead screws? No. So because they're so close, it counteracts the lead screw kind of lifting one side. Like if we put like the lead screw in the front corner and the rail in the back corner, you'll get some torquing in the system and you'll get binding. Having them closer together and having a dual length flanged bearing from Ushimi, we've been able to overcome any of the binding. And then on the other side, it's actually opposite. So on the right hand side, the lead screws in the front, the rail is in the back. They're within an inch of each other, but and then on the left hand side, the rail's in the front and the lead screws in the back. So because they're offset, and we are able to keep the wobble down, and we're also able to keep it smooth and no binding. The third question was the difference between the 17 and the 28.
Yeah.
So from the 17 to the 28 is 200 millimeters roughly.
Yeah.
So the big thing is we had the 17, or we had the 28. That was our original. And I thought, oh, everybody's going to want a big printer. Everybody's going to want a big printer. And then I had people like question, well, that won't fit. That won't fit on my shelf.
Right.
So I thought, take everything we know from the 28, put it in the 17. And so really all it is a shorter version. Because there's not that many people there's a lot of people who like to print really big things, but in industry and a lot of prop makers and stuff like that, they want bed space. So we thought, well, we're going to give the same bed space while offering a shorter edition.
Right.
That's really the only difference.
Now, the difference in price is what? $300?
Right now it's $300.
$300. So, but I mean, really and truthfully, that's attributed cost of smooth rods, because the longer you get, the more expensive them jokers are too.
Yep.
And the extrusions
and the acrylic.
like and the acrylic, correct.
Yep.
So it's basically just upsizing, and you're passing that cost on to the consumer.
Yeah. And if you want to buy a D1700 and you think, oh well, a year down the road I want to make it taller, let us know and we'll help you do that.
Okay. Now I missed the answer about the going from smooth rods to rails. I missed that because I'm sorry, I had to step out. He had a quick question.
Yeah. Yes, that's an upgrade path currently.
Okay, cool. That's all I need to know. I mean, I'll get it offline. I can ask you that offline. Now, Brian Vine said he needs a kidney. Can he print one of those on a Project Red printer?
You can print one that looks like a kidney.
Okay. You can print a kidney bean looking object.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually had someone come into our makerspace and say, well, my dad needs an eye. Can I print an eye on that?
Really?
And I was like, yeah, she's joking. And then no, she wasn't joking.
She wasn't joking. Well, and they are making strides in 3D printing of organs and stuff of that nature.
Yes.
With living tissue. And I mean, it's amazing what they're doing.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah. It's the same mechanisms, but it's not the same systems.
Oh, right. Yeah, no doubt. And I get the thing all the time. I mean, and people tag me in this on Facebook a lot. And it's friends of mine that are local. Mm-hmm. Not guys in the 3D printing community, but they're like, oh, did you see where they 3D printed a house? I'm like, yes, I've seen where they 3D printed a house. That's not what I'm doing. Same concept, just a little bigger scale. So,
well, are you familiar with Ozinga Concrete?
No, I have not.
They just bought a bunch of Florida concrete companies. Anyways, Tim Ozinga, who's one of the main family members who runs that business, I've been in talks with them about making a concrete 3D printer for disaster areas.
one of the problems that I've seen with 3D printing of houses and stuff of that nature, I think they have a beta house somewhere, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Tennessee, right?
I believe it is Tennessee.
But it's like one of the first allowed in the United States because of coding and all this other stuff that gets in the way. To me, that's just ridiculous.
So when I approached them about wanting to do the concrete houses, it wasn't really a long-term housing system. By my past experiences, I'm a medic by trade.
Right.
And before that, after I got out of the fire academy, I joined the American Red Cross, and I was a disaster tech for them.
Right.
So my whole thing was having a quick and easy way to build disaster structures that for housing people in disaster areas and war zones and stuff like that.
Right.
So we have a design. It's more of just getting the time and the concrete guys together to build it.
Well, my thing is, theoretically, though, you can 3D print a completely livable house, not an emergency shelter.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You could print one heck of a house with a 3D printing concrete machine.
Absolutely.
You know? So I'm one of those. I would love it. I would love to build me a gantry out back, put some G code on it and go, print me a house.
Yeah.
You know, but concrete supply is kind of expensive for me.
Well, the big reason why I approached Ozinga about it was because I can do the machine.
Right.
That's the easy part. It's the mix that's hard.
Right.
And they have like 50,000 patents on concrete. And I was like, these are the guys. Yeah. And I just went to their office and started talking to Tim.
Well, and the thing is, because it's different than plastic. I mean,
absolutely.
You have to have set time and all this other stuff. And I mean, it's a liquid, so it's just going to run. So you have to have it, just stuff like that stuff. Anywho, we are, oh God. All right. So we're getting to the end of the interview. They're an hour long, and we've covered the small business side of this. We've covered the 3D printers that you sell. Here's one of the biggest things of small business that I think that gets everybody. Before this interview, I'd never heard of Project R3d. The next comment, me too, totally new to me. So only through shows like this, Murph is great for you to get in touch with all the good, manufacturers and things of that nature. Get your printers in front of the eyes of people that can go, well, if you change this, it'd be better. You know what I mean? But to get to the public, what do you do? So
that's one. We could dump a lot of money into promoting and stuff like that. And we kind of opted more for less advertising and more growing organically right now, mainly because I'm getting a lot of the people that have bought already have been giving amazing feedback. And on top of that, I'm able to keep up with everything easily. And as we expand, we'll be doing more promotion and stuff like that. But it's hard to find the right places to promote.
Right.
In 3D printing. You don't just put out an ad in the newspaper. You don't just blast Google, stuff like that. So going forward, we'll be doing more events. We're looking at Rapid next year, stuff like that. We're looking into working with some distributors, and on their end, they do a lot of promotions on their end, to where I would like to be able to concentrate more on developing better printers than going around selling ad spaces, buying ad places up everywhere.
Right.
So,
well, if you ever need a pitch, man, I know somebody that can talk for hours and hours and hours on end.
Me too. So the big thing is I really like the printers talking for themselves.
Yeah, no doubt. I get you.
And I could put up a billboard anywhere, but you're just going to buy it because it looks cool. I want it to talk for itself. I want you to see the results.
Yeah. Joe Mike said he's got a D1700 and it's solid. So that's sweet, man. I mean, that's, you know, that's what speaks for itself. You know, when you sell printers and people come in and go, you know, if you put some, you know, some testimonials on your site or something of people that actually have them, I mean, that speaks volumes, because people listen to other people that actually have your product, especially when they're real people. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, Joe Mike has no reason to come in here and say that, because he has other printers, you know, he's access to lots of other printers, and to come in and say yours is solid is a good testament to your printer, you know?
Yeah. Joe Mike, he knows how to work a printer. So he's given us feedback. Joe Mike has given us feedback to where now we use tooth idlers instead of smooth idlers. He's done some awesome things like adding a camera to the printers. And then another person is Jeff Weed on Twitter. He has given us a lot of feedback on our slicers and stuff like that. Like, that's the best thing, is getting that feedback, and that's what I'm looking for. I always want more feedback, so I always know what I can do to make it better. Right. I'll put in the time. I'm happy to.
Yeah, and Jeremy says the size should be bigger, 600 cubed.
We have a 500 by 500 by 500 in the works.
Yeah, you do have a 500 cubed in the works.
Yeah, and it's going to be IDEX and rails. And currently the design is with 3 ball screws, 16 millimeter ball screws, and it's going to be the actual bed leveling. I got you.
The 3-point bed leveling with the Z screws.
Absolutely.
The ball screws instead, right?
Yep. And that's going to be an IDEX system currently. That's what the design is right now.
I got you. Yeah, he said he wouldn't mind paying $2,500 to $3,000 for plus an enclosure for that. So, you know, well, and you know, I don't know what that's going to be. Ball screws are not cheap either.
No, not at all.
Well, you know that every time I have one of these, I got to ask for, is there a code? Is there a code for the country club?
I'll have to set one up, but it'll probably be for filament with the printer.
Okay. Yeah, I know y'all run lean on your pricing, so I understand. We talked about that, and I didn't bring this up, guys. This is hitting him in the gut. You saw that face, didn't you? He's like, oh,
I knew you would. So we'll set up a code, and what it'll be for is a kilogram of Atomics carbon fiber PETG.
Okay.
To be added. So it's a $50 spool of filament that we would add to it. We can't do much more off the printers the way it is, but I can do that.
So let's do this. So you're going to give them a roll. Is that right? Is that what you're doing?
It comes with a standard roll, but we'll do one more. We normally alternate the other material, but we will guarantee with the purchase of a printer, we will add in an additional spool, and that spool will be carbon fiber PETG.
And we're going to do Kuntry Klub, Kuntry Klub. So he's setting it up, guys.
All right. Yeah. So
I don't know how many of the country club can afford the price point, but if they're out there, then we're going to try to sell the printer for you.
It's going to be Country Club, all one word.
All one word. That's right. Hashtag Country Club.
It will expire on the 28th.
On the 28th, 7 days. We got 1 week.
Yes.
That's friggin' cool. 1 week from today.
So it's not going to show like a discount or anything like that. Just when I see Country Club, I'll throw in another spool.
You are the man, Joe. That is awesome. All right, guys. So we've hit our hour, actually a little over our hour. Do you have any more questions for Joe? and it can be on the small business side. It can be on the printer side. So, all right, Joe, Mike, take it easy, buddy. But I will, Joe, I promise. But yeah, if y'all have any questions, then type them in the thing here in Discord. I think I got all the Discord ones. I do. So if you have anything, let me know, and we'll ask him.
Yeah, and I'm always in Discord. It'll be live right after. It'll be live by 6:30ish. So 7:30 your time.
So 7:30 Eastern.
Yeah, and I'll have the discount code live, and then in Discord I'm what is it?
I don't know.
Joe Pro 3D or P3D or PR3D Joe. So if you have questions on there, feel free to ask them. I'm always on there as well. So
okay, would you go bigger than 500 millimeters and in the future? And do you have a ballpark release date for the 500 millimeter?
I'm hoping we can get them at least shown at Murph next year, and I'm not sure how long it'd take us to deliver. We make custom units. Like we just earlier this year, we delivered a 600 by 600 by 600 down to Texas, but it was a custom unit. So custom, it just costs a little additional money. But the bigger, the more shipping costs, because we sell them completed. The 500s are pretty much going to have to be freight shipped. Right.
Yeah. So. Well, you know, somebody said, will you change your name to PR USA all in caps? So, okay. So here's my question. See, I want a meter cubed printer.
Okay.
But you need to bring it down and set it up in my house. That's what I want. Just a meter cube. Now, so custom builds are an option, Robbie Mac. Robbie Mac just adds that. So custom are, but they have to contact you specifically. There's nothing on the website that says, hey, you know, here's my dimensions. I want to build a printer, and then you build it. They contact you and you work out the design and that type of, or the build.
Yeah, because what we do is we design it, and then it goes through a full approval process and everything like that. So
right. I got you. Yeah, no, when you're doing custom stuff, that give and take with the customer is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
But no, I was kidding about the meter cubed. I have nowhere in my trailer home to build one.
That's where we started. We started these designs. We built 3 printers when we first started. It was a meter, and then it was 18 by 18 by 27, and then it was 12 by 12 by 20.
Wow.
And what we were doing was we built all 3 of them, and then we felt which one was most appropriate for the market.
Right. I got you. Now, the heaters that you get, you said they were oil drum heaters. Are they 120 volt or how are they?
They're 24 volt.
Okay.
They run off of a 500 watt power supply.
Okay.
But they're 360 watts.
Yeah.
On their own. So they're beefy. They get up to 60 degrees Celsius pretty much with like the warm up time for a PLA print on those printers are less than a minute normally. And then up to 120, you're looking at about 5. Right.
Well, but yeah, you know, these guys are getting crazy now. Chris said, let's challenge 100 size printer. I'm like, yeah, that's just, to me, that's a waste of time. But
100?
Yeah.
100 millimeter?
Yeah. A 100 by 100 by 100 millimeter printer. I think the Duet Wi-Fi is actually longer than 100 millimeters. It is. It is.
So like one of the big things we're trying to decide is what we're going to be releasing.
Right.
And we're looking at a $600 to $700 Prusa style machine, and then we're looking for the roughly $3,000 500 by 500 by 500 machine.
Right. I got you.
As one of our next what we're bringing to the market next.
Right. Yeah, I got you. No, I mean, it sounds great, man. I'm, you know, because my next build I wanted to be a rail core of, 500 by 500 by 500 because a rail core is a good printer.
Mhm.
But I want to do the 3 lead screw bed leveling just like you're thinking about doing in yours. And I'm not going to use ball screws though. That's just an expense I can't afford.
If you're wanting ball screws, I know we're not going to be using them, but I know one of the people I was looking at for ball screws is Zeltec out of Texas.
Yeah.
They have pretty decent prices on ball screws.
Well, and I have a guy that watches my show. He works for MSC, I think it is. I've got one of his papers here somewhere, and he was able to get me all my nuts, bolts.
Yeah, MSC, the supplier.
Yeah, and my smooth rods and all that stuff they had.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have lead screws; they had ball screws.
Yeah,
I've never used a ball screw on a printer. What are the advantages? So
you're not really going to get bending as much. Big thing is when you support it properly, you're not blowing out stepper motors because you have so much weight on them. You really need the support structure. But there's a lot of, you don't really have the backlash issue, but they are somewhat preloaded. So it's just learning a new thing. It's just it's got its own little quirks.
Okay.
They can move a lot of weight and they can move it smoothly, but there are quirks to it. We've tried belt Z, like doing a belt Z axis. You can't do it with the weight that we're playing with right now. I mean,
I understand that with the size of the beds and stuff like that. It just, I get it. It's great for a Delta because you're just moving the effector, but I can see that moving a bed up and down.
Yeah,
wouldn't be the best.
It can be done, but it's more hassle than it's worth.
Speaking of backlash, I have an issue with my, and we're getting off of your product and we're going to talk about my build.
I'm always happy to help.
when I pop stuff off the bed, sometimes, I bump the bed and my bed will actually turn the lead screws and move it.
Yeah. So if you just sit your hand on it, will it walk itself down?
No. It's not quite that. But if I put a little weight on one side, it'll move the bed one-sided. And I have to then go through the entire leveling process. Is there a way to eliminate some of that? Have you
what are you using? Are you using 4-start T8?
Yeah. Yes.
One place to look is Open Builds has their Delrin lead screw nuts.
Yeah.
They have anti-backlash ones. Another thing to look at is looking at a lower pitch and maybe going away from 4-start, but because it'll make it a little bit more rigid.
Right.
But really, there's not binding.
There's not. There's absolutely not. It's just aggravating to go from one print to the next, and you go, well, wait a minute, god dang it.
Well, here, why don't you? So when you're, so is the printer powered off at that point?
Yeah. Well, no. Normally it's on. Sometimes.
Okay. So in the firmware, it's unless you changed it, most likely you have it set to where it drops all the stepper motors to 30% torque.
It does.
Well, don't do that on your Z.
Leave the Z's at like 80 or something, right?
Yeah,
or
leave them at full.
I got you.
Leave them as standard.
Now, will the anti-backlash nuts, will that help as well? Because I got a set of those I didn't put on there.
It depends on the anti-backlash nuts, of course.
It's those ones with the spring on them, the little cheap ones.
Yeah. I mean, I mostly work with Delrin just because it's smooth and you don't get the noise over time.
Right.
But Open Builds is a great company as well. I mean, they're like $9 a piece though.
Yeah.
But give it a try. I mean, with the spring, you're gonna have less of a anti-backlash. You'll get the anti-backlash side of it, but unless the spring's really tight, I don't see it helping too much in that case.
Right.
But it's worth giving it a try.
Well, that trick with the motor that absolutely makes sense to me because yeah, it's all 30%. You know, of course, because that's the default, and I'm like, what? Well, yeah, I guess that sounds good. You know,
Yeah.
But I think that's it, Joe. I'm gonna hop on here and let them look at my pretty face.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and I was gonna say, yeah, I lost some of my build height because I use couplers instead of integrated lead screws.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody out there wants to, I have a couple down below in my Amazon wish list. I have the integrated lead screws down there in my wish list for Amazon.
The only problem with the integrated is you have a high tendency of getting bent in shipping.
Yeah, well, I did read the descriptions on this, and there's a couple pictures. They actually come packaged kind of like the Prusa ones, where they're in the styrofoam, you know, with the rod nestled in the styrofoam. So they are packaged well, but you're right. I mean, but that's the same with just lead screws as well.
I would like Prusa to let us know how many of those he gets that are bent, shipped in bulk.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can just imagine. Yeah, but I'm looking at the 350s because you know this I want a 300 height, so 350 is what I need to get up underneath my thing.
Just go 500.
Anyway, oh come on, man! I printed these. Remember, this is a printed extrusion.
Just print some additional height on the extrusion, glue it on. You're ready to rock.
Well, you know, I don't know about that. When you're running at 120 millimeters a second, you know, and it gets some of that infill stuff, it already shakes quite a bit.
Is 120 millimeters a second really worth the not having that height? Come on, Walter.
It's pretty good.
Go home.
Well, you know what? I tell you what. Why don't you just send me one of yours that's 500 high, and I'll be happy then.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would.
I promise you, it would sit on the table right here beside me. Like every show, you would get to see your printer.
Oh yeah,
in my videos. You know, all 5 people that watch me.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on, and I really appreciate the questions.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna do the close down and tell everybody bye, and then we'll get back to you guys. If you want to get in touch with Joe, all of his contact information he sent me is in the description, so you should be able to get to their website, get him on Twitter, whatever information he gave me. I copied and pasted it, so it's down there. So go check him out and see him. All right. So here we go. We're gonna do the outro, and then I'll see you in just a minute, Joe.
Okay.
All right, guys, that was Joe from Project Red. Thank you for all your questions. Thank y'all for being the Kuntry Klub, like you always are. I appreciate you being here. Joe does too. Looks to me to be an excellent product. I don't know. I don't remember seeing them at Murph because I didn't get a lot of time to go around, but I have looked at their website, and the printer looks awesome. If you haven't seen it, remember he gave a code Kuntry Klub to get a roll of PETG nylon filament, an extra roll of filament with the printer if you buy one. So guys, that's been Kuntry Klub Live, and we'll see you. I think next week we're going to have the Broken Nerd, maker of high regard. I don't know if you've seen his models or his prints on Twitter, but the dude does some awesome stuff. So next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, I'm going to have the Broken Nerd on here, and we're going to set that up, and we'll do an hour with the Broken Nerd. So thank you for this. It was great. And we will see you tomorrow morning for morning coffee. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good night.